Before you even ask, yes, I'll tell you, it's true. We've become a Max Payne channel, and that's why today on Have You Played, we're checking out my review of Max Payne 2, The Fall of Max Payne.
Believe it or not, Max Payne 2, The Fall of Max Payne, is the second game in the Max Payne series. Much like the first game in the series, Max Payne 2 follows the adventures of the titular character, Max Payne. Since the events of the first game, Max Payne has returned to his old job of a New York City Police Department detective. There's a gunfight at a warehouse that he's called in to investigate, he runs into a few old friends, and the story kind of just goes on and on and on from there. Similar to the story in the first game, the plot of Max Payne 2 is a complex series of twists and turns, a real whodunit sort of detective story. I don't want to get too deep into the plot, because aside from shooting people in slow motion, Max Payne games are really about telling a story. I'll just say that for someone who really enjoyed the storytelling in the first Max Payne game, Max Payne 2 definitely delivers. While the first game made plenty of allusions to Greek, Norse, or Roman mythologies, the second game doesn't really do so much of that. It's a lot more of a traditional detective story, mixed with some very interesting meta observations on Max Payne as both a man in this fictional world, but also as a video game character controlled by the player. Aside from some improvements to the combat system, Max Payne 2 plays fairly similarly to the first game. You've got your standard set of guns, some explosives that you can lob at enemies, and if you're close enough to an enemy, you can also whip them with your pistol. Bullet time is one of the defining characteristics of the Max Payne series, and of course, it makes a return here in Max Payne 2. For some reason, my aim was actually worse in bullet time, and it never really felt like it actually benefited the gameplay at all. Speaking of gameplay, there's also some really interesting stuff going on under the hood. On your first playthrough, there's only one difficulty level that you can select. And then, depending on how many times the player dies, that difficulty level is automatically adjusted behind the scenes to compensate for that player's skill level. So for instance, if you die a lot, enemies will become easier and you'll get more health pickups. Although you can definitely just blaze through a level if you want to, by digging around a bit, I was able to find extra weapon pickups, AI-controlled companions that would join me for parts of a level, unique dialogue and interactions with certain characters.
Coming to see an old lady like me?
Just passing through, ma'am.
And just like in the other Max Payne games, you can find televisions throughout levels. These televisions will play different commercials or TV shows, and the plots of those TV shows will advance as you advance the plot of the game. Again, to avoid spoiling anything, I don't want to get too deep into the story, but I will note that these television shows offer a really fun and interesting parallel to the story being told in the main game. Any complaints or frustration I have with the game were mostly due to difficulty. There were two sections in particular that I had to save scum my way through in order to complete the game. In retrospect, those areas probably would have been a lot easier if I had properly utilized bullet time, but I honestly often forgot that it was even an option, and that's probably due to me being a total fucking idiot. One regret I have in playing Max Payne 2 is that I think I played it at the wrong aspect ratio. When I first booted up the game, I noticed that Max's head looked kind of wide and squared off, as if he was designed by Jack Kirby. I looked up a few screenshots of the game to see if that was an issue I was having or if that was actually how the game was supposed to look, and initially, the screenshots matched my output. But upon further research, I'm fairly certain the game is not supposed to look like this, so I've adjusted my footage for this review. Anyway, I've talked about all three of the Max Payne games at this point, and they're all pretty fucking good. While I think I would rank my favorites as being Max Payne 1, Max Payne 2, followed by Max Payne 3, I do believe that all three games in the series are definitely worth your time. These are fun, well-paced, third-person shooters that really tell a very interesting and engaging story. There is clearly so much attention being paid to the mood and atmosphere of every environment. There were several times in my playthrough where I would stop and just listen to the ambient sounds of a level. The first two Max Payne games go on sale pretty regularly, and can often be found for under $10. If you love video games, there's really no reason not to give this series a chance.
Well, viewer, I have to be honest with you, I was pulling a bit of a trick earlier. We are, in fact, not becoming a Max Payne channel. That is the final review in the Max Payne series of reviews here on Have You Played? And I must ask you, have you played Max Payne 2? Have you played any of the other games in the series? Now, there's a couple more titles I haven't reviewed. I believe a mobile game and at least one handheld title. I haven't checked those out. Have you played those games in the Max Payne series? Let me know down below, and please let me know what you're playing down below as well. I'm always looking for new game suggestions, and if you're looking for new game suggestions from us, then be sure to subscribe to Hidden Machine. There's new videos every week. And that's it. See ya.